In the last 2 years, we've uploaded around 200 videos to this channel. This means we've spent a lot of time editing, so any new shortcuts we find that make the process quicker is like winning the jackpot. The team over at Palette has sent over their palette gear for us to try to see if we can make our editing workflow quicker. Welcome to the film look. Give your video a clean look with Aspect by Rocketstock. Built for corporate videos and documentaries, it features over 200 logo reveals, intros, lower thirds, overlays, icons and transitions, some of which you will see in this video. Get it now by clicking the link below. What is the Palette gear? Palette is a modular hardware device that allows you to program shortcuts by using buttons, sliders and dials. For example, instead of using the mouse to click on your volume and move it up and down, you can use a slider or a dial to do this. Using a button is quicker and easier, and it just feels nicer to carry out such a task. The palette can do much more than just change the volume of your computer's sound, but we'll get more into that later on in the video. There are a few different kits you can buy, and the one we have is the Expert Kit, which goes for $300. How to set it up? I'm not going to go into all of the details about how to set up the palette, as there are a lot of videos already on YouTube from Palette themselves, and it's super easy to do. It's really just plug and play. Dive into the functions and work out what layout works for you. If you've used programs like Adobe Premiere and Photoshop, this will be a breeze to set up. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it. The design. You will not be disappointed with the design of the palette gear. It's actually made filming the B-roll for this video very easy because it looks so cool. The arcade buttons feel like arcade buttons, the sliders are smooth but have a nice hard stop to them, and the dials turn with ease and have a nice click to them when you press them down. The LEDs come in handy to customize your setup, and it helps you to color code your setup. For my editing profile in Premiere Pro, I've set them to purple, with the 2 buttons set to green as they control something else. When I switch to my color correction profile, I have the button set to red, and when I'm using Spotify, I have the 2 controls set to green. The rest are blacked out as they have no controls assigned to them, which was my choice. Changing the colors is super easy, and there are 1,000 different designs and workflow combinations. I have the palette set right above my keyboard. I did have it to the side at first, but it did mean that I could only access it with one hand. And having it above my keyboard means I can work with the buttons from left to right, which feels more natural. Everyone's desk setup will be different. You've just got to spend a little bit of time to work out which setup's best for you. And like I said earlier, it's really easy to change. At first I selected one of the many pre-built profiles which are supplied with the palette, but you can download other user profiles from their website. Start with these and learn what you do and you do not need. Then it's time to customize. This is my setup. The first 2 buttons are simply to skip forwards and backwards between the different profiles. This will become clear in a minute. I have a number of different profiles installed on the palette, with my most being for Premiere Pro, where I've got 5 profiles. The first profile is for when I'm just editing a project together, with controls to zoom in and out of the timeline, jog through the timeline, and change the audio track height, which makes doing the simple task much easier. The next 2 profiles are for when I'm using the Luma Tree color grading plugin. I have it set up so Grade 1 can change the temperature, tint, exposure and contrast controls. Grade 2 has controls for the highlights, shadows, whites, blacks and saturation, just like the basic colour correction in the Luma Tree panel. This is why I have the first 2 buttons set to switch forwards and backwards between the different profiles, so I can quickly access all of the settings I use the most. You can just use one of the buttons to skip through the profiles, but it does mean you can only skip forwards until you get back to the start. Other profiles I have for Premiere Pro are controls for the Creative tab in the Luma Tree to change the percentage of the LUT, add a film fade and change the vibrance. Then a profile to change the scale, X and Y position of a clip. I did try to use the palette to edit audio, as there's a profile already set up which has all of the shortcuts to add keyframes and edit, but I felt like it was slowing me down. Using the mouse and keyboard shortcuts does the same task and a lot quicker. The other profiles I use are for Lightroom, which have very similar controls to the colour grading options in Premiere, and also for Spotify, which is a nice bonus as I use this every day. You can also use the palette for other programs like After Effects, Audition, InDesign, and many other programs are being added. My recommendations. Like I said, we have the Expert Kit, which is the middle kit, but what's good about the palette gear is you can buy everything separately. So if you find out that you need more buttons, you can just buy more buttons. For my current workflow, which is using the palette mainly for colour, I think I would completely get rid of the sliders and just add more dials. The reason is because the dials can perform 3 actions. They can dial left and right, which can change a number value higher or lower. And also they can be pressed down to perform a different action, like reset the setting controls. Also, if the slider is not in the center, when you start to move it, the controlling value jumps to where the slider is, so you have to move it back to the center to start from 0. The dials all will start from 0. So, should you get the palette gear? If you're like me and use Luma Tree to colour correct and colour grade, or use Lightroom to do the same for your photographs on a daily basis, I think it is a must. You can definitely do all of this without the palette, but it just makes it a lot easier and quicker. The palette is not a replacement for your mouse and keyboard. It is an extension that helps you fine-tune the control over your workflow to allow you to be more creative. We review equipment at any chance we can, so if you want to see more, consider subscribing. Thanks to Rocketstock for the graphic elements used in this episode. Their aspect pack includes 200 minimalist graphic elements designed to add a professional touch to your project. Check it out for yourself by visiting rocketstock.com or via the link in the description. Let us know if you already have a palette or if you're looking to get one. We'd love to see the different setups you have. Thanks for watching the film look, and remember, achieve it one shot at a time.